Ask and ye shall receive is what the Bible says. Well, I asked and I have received from you a great idea. A member of the Ace and TJ radio family has shared an issue that she is having. And I think there's a message in there, a reminder at least, that we all need to hear. Let's start the meeting.
Whatever you're going through, you will get through it because you're here. And that means you are not alone. This is the Meaningful Meeting. Now your host, Ace Cannon.
So here we are back again for another edition of the Meaningful Meeting. It's been a couple of weeks. And I'll be quite honest with you before we get started with everything. Here's what has happened over the past couple of weeks. It just so happened that 2 weeks ago, the date for recording the Meaningful Meeting and everything turned out to be, it was the week of the anniversary of my mom's death, the first anniversary of my mom's death. And I just didn't want to do that. I feel like so much of this, we talk about a lot of the reasons that we have there. The reason that I have the Meaningful Meeting is because of the death of my daughter. And I don't know, it just wasn't something I was prepared to discuss. And then the next week, I kind of felt bad that I didn't do it. And it just kind of got lost in the shuffle. Maybe I just needed to put some distance between myself and that particular date. But that's why I haven't been here for a couple of weeks. But I'm here now. We're here. And the important thing is we all come together. You come here every week for the Meaningful Meeting because we have a shared experience. We're all going through something. We're all going through something. We're experiencing some type of tragedy or hardship or difficulty in our lives. And hopefully you'll find something here every week that will compel you to move forward, compel you to continue to go forward, to have some positivity in your life. And I make no bones about it. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a specialist. I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy who's going through a lot of stuff and has been through a lot of stuff. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'll always say this. This is a really selfish podcast. As much as it sounds like I'm trying to give you something, I'm only doing it. I'm doing it because the thought that I'm doing something that might be helpful to somebody else by sharing my own experiences makes me feel better about my experiences and helps me. So in the process, maybe we're all giving each other a little bit of help. So I always talked about this. I love the idea of discussing things that you're experiencing, you're going through, and seeing how we can create something out of that for all of us. And I got a message today. I'll keep the lady's name anonymous. But she says, my parents are 75 and 77. Mom is sick and frail. Dad is handicapped. At 50, I've hit the stage of life knowing that they won't be here forever. I have no idea what I'll do when they're gone. I only have an older adopted special needs sister. I have no husband, no children, grandchildren, nieces, or nephews, and the prospect of dying alone myself can be overwhelming. Just wondered if anyone else has experienced this, and what do you do to not focus on the sadness that will come at the end of your own life? She goes, there's a shot of depression for you to ingest. LOL. Thanks and have a great day. She's been a fan of the Ace and TJ show, a member of the Ace and TJ radio family for a long time, way back from our days on 104.3 ZYP in Huntsville, Alabama. She talks about the fact that she tries to make light of it because she gets insecure sharing her stories. And she even messaged me back and said, you may not want to use that. That's too depressing for the masses. No, it's not too depressing for the masses. And I'll tell you why. Here's the thing that jumped out at me when I read this. Is that she doesn't have anyone. She has no husband, no children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews. The prospect of dying alone myself can be overwhelming. Just wondered if anyone else has experienced this. And what do you do to not focus on the sadness that will come at the end of your own life? Here is my initial thought. How do you know? How do you know? You're 50 years old. Are you giving up? Okay, so your parents won't be around forever. They never were. They were never going to be around forever. My dad died 12 years ago. My mom just died a year ago. My mom had Alzheimer's for years before she finally passed away, mercifully. I loved both my parents dearly. They were awesome. But it was never expected that they were going to be around forever. So that's the given. Boom. That goes into slot A over here. Now, slot B, that's just the way life works, by the way. Now, in slot B is what you plan to do with this information, what you plan to do with your life. Okay, you don't have a husband now. you can't have nieces and nephews right now. I mean, you're not going to be able to create a brother and a sister at this point in life. Your parents aren't having any more kids. Facts. Okay? But you don't know what the rest of your life has in store for you. You don't know. I am a prime example of that. I got divorced, and for about 2 years, almost 2 years, had been living alone, and nobody really knew outside the show, and a few, not all of my friends, but just a few very close friends knew that I was living outside the home as we worked through our marriage and everything. And finally, it wasn't working out, and I had to move on, and life had to change. And some very tough decisions were made, and I was heartbroken. And I said publicly, here's the deal. I am not getting married again. I don't want to have any more kids. I don't want to be in a serious relationship. I just want to have a good time, try to enjoy some of life. That's the way I felt. And let's just say that in that time, after everything was all finalized and so forth and so on, I had been living quietly all by myself for a couple of years, pretty much like a shut-in, like a monk, and I took advantage of the situation afterwards and was living the life that I wanted to live. And then, out of nowhere, Amanda comes along. I didn't plan for that. I didn't want that. I didn't expect that. It wasn't what I was looking for. It's just what happened. I was 48 years old. You're 50 years old right now. Who knows what's about to happen? Yeah, it's overwhelming. I can tell you that going through my divorce was overwhelming. Overwhelming, trying to work through the situation. Overwhelming, trying to be a good father during that time. Overwhelming, trying to continue to work and just barely being able to function every day. Overwhelming, quite often going home and just laying in the bed. Getting home in the afternoon and just laying in bed because I just couldn't, I needed some, I just couldn't I couldn't wrap my head around the world. And slowly things begin to change. Who knows what's in store for the rest of your life? And then it's way too early for you to say, okay, I'm just going to focus. Well, how do I not focus on the sadness? Well, let's start out by not assuming that life is going to be horrible for the rest of your life. Let's start there. Let's start out with, these things are happening. They're tough. I know they're tough. They suck. It's terrible. Again, overwhelming is the word that comes back to me. Trying to take care of both of your parents like that in that situation. I understand that. It's overwhelming. But that doesn't mean that the rest of your life has to be cloaked in sadness. Maybe instead of looking at it like, how do I handle the sadness of the rest of my life? We change the word. Well, we take the word look out and put in the word change. How do I change the sadness for the rest of my life? What do I need to do to make myself feel a little bit better? What can I do to help my situation? How can I look at this a little bit better? And how can I look at this in a way that makes me feel better about it? What can I do to improve the way I feel about my future? I'm not saying that's easy at all. What I am saying is that's a fact of life. There is an opportunity there. There is an opportunity in front of you right now, today, to take stock of your situation and see what you can do to make yourself feel better about your future. Now, I know this because I've been struggling with a very similar situation, not with the death and all, but trying to change my future, having to reinvent myself in a few ways lately. It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. What I am saying is you only have two choices here. One, to figure out how to, quote, not focus on the sadness that will come at the end of your own life, end quote. Or two, how to change the end of your life so it's not that sad. Those are the only two options. So why not? Why not take a shot at making it a little better? Why not take a chance? Why not look at it and say, okay, what do I enjoy? What makes me feel good? What could I be doing better? What would make me feel better about my future? Well, obviously, falling in love might make me feel better about my future. Well, that's a difficult one to make happen. But what you can do is get out and experience a little bit more life. Open yourself up to new things. Try new things. Find more of the things that you already know make you happy and do more of that. Maybe all that's needed is what I would think of as a general cheering up. Instead of not focusing on the sadness, focus on what makes me happy. What makes me feel successful? What fills me with pride? What can I do to help someone else? Because helping others certainly makes us feel good about ourselves. Now, you're doing a lot to help others in this particular case. You've got two parents that you're taking care of. And again, I know that. I understand that. That's overwhelming. But there has to be a way that you can look at the situation and begin to make a few minor changes that allow you the opportunity to feel a little bit better. Because if you don't take any action, what are you left doing? Trying to not focus on the sadness that is the rest of your life. That is one of the most depressing sentences I've ever heard. What do you do to not focus on the sadness that will come at the end of your own life? I try to change it. I try to change what happens between now and the end of my own life. These could be the greatest years of your life ahead. You know yourself now better than you ever have. You know what makes you happy. You know what you need. You know what you have to give to someone or something. Whatever could add some joy to your life. All you can really do is try to live more of that life. All you can really do is, rather than drowning in the sadness of the end of your parents' life, relish the special moments that come and the opportunity to hold their hand one last time and to be there with them and share a little something, even if it's a memory. And do the best you can for them. And not look at it as the sadness of the end of a life, but the joy of the comfort you provide as they finish a life well done. So it's all about perspective. Don't think of it as, what am I going to do about the sadness of the rest of my life? How am I going to handle that? The question becomes, how am I going to change the rest of my life? How am I going to open myself up to joy and happiness and excitement and new things and new people? Who knows what experiences are out there? No one knows. I didn't. I know tons of people that have incredible life-changing things happen after the age of 50. Lots of them. And suddenly they're open to a different world and perspectives change. But none of that will happen. There's not a chance that anything other than sadness is going to happen if you just sit around and focus on the sadness. There is no chance that joy or peace or happiness is coming to you in your life if all you focus on is the sadness that will come at the end of your own life. That's got to go. And it doesn't matter the situation. No matter how old you are, if all you do is sit around and focus on how sad you are, on what you don't have, what you're not, then you'll never be what you want to be because you're putting your energy in the wrong place. Put your energy into something proactive. Put your energy into something positive. Put your thought into these positive aspects of life. Put your energy into the potential of your future, not the sadness of it. And see if that doesn't begin to make a difference. It has to. And look at it this way. Even if you don't believe me, it's worth a shot. Because if all you do is try to figure out how to manage the sadness of the end of your life, you have no chance of finding happiness or exciting new experiences or a bold new life that might be out there for you. None. But if you at least open yourself up to the opportunity, open yourself up to new people, open yourself up more to the things that you enjoy, open yourself up more to new experiences, at least then you might have a few good times. And who knows where that world might take you. Your life may not be coming to an end at all. It may just now be starting. But only if you try. Only if you allow it to happen. That's up to you. And my hope, my prayer, is that one day, you will tell your story of how you've overcome what you're going through right now. And it will become a part of someone else's survival guide. Because that's a blessing when you pass that on to someone else and they have the opportunity to thrive. They have the opportunity to make their life better because of something you shared that you experienced. But you got to make a change. It's all in your head and your heart. Here and here. You got to make the change first. It's up to you. This came to my Facebook page. DM me anytime. David Ace Cannon on Facebook. There are two of them. The one that I use most is the one I'll be holding a picture of my Peddling for Peyton shirt up from last year. So DM me on Instagram, @AceAtLarge, Instagram, Twitter. Love to hear from you. I love having the opportunity to go through these things and talk about the things that were real that you're experiencing instead of just talking about me and my crazy mixed up life all the time. So @AceAtLarge, David Ace Cannon on Facebook, and I'll see you next week for the meeting.
Now, whatever you're going through, you're not alone. You are a part of the Meaningful Meeting, presented by the Radio Network. Copyright ATJ Inc. 2022.